Hi, and welcome to the Thought Leader Recruiter podcast, episode 4. So, we're going to explore how industry leaders are tackling today's biggest talent challenges. I'm your host, Sam Bylett, and today I'm excited to be joined by Jordan Kerr, a global account director at Total Jobs. Hi, Jordan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah, very welcome. So, first of all, can you just share a bit about your journey to becoming the global account director at Total Jobs?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I would probably say I first started out in recruitment world with Michael Page many years ago, probably just after the year 2000 or so, and that gave me the first, I suppose, experience of the recruitment industry. Albeit the recruitment was very different back then, and of course that was on the working for a recruitment agency as opposed to an online digital route for that route there. And then there was a platform you may or may not remember. It's not really that big anymore in the UK. It was Monster.com.
Yeah,
Or .co.uk is the UK one. So I worked for them for a few years, and that was my first step away from, I suppose, traditional recruitment agency work into the job board world. I worked for them, thought it was fantastic, but I knew some people that at that point had worked at Total Jobs, and they'd offered a role at that point to come to work for them. It was a kind of online sales exec role, a kind of new business style role, and I'm going back to about 2006 or so now, 2007 perhaps. And that was really my first kind of move into the kind of Total Jobs world away from Monster. Built up a lot of experience at Monster and how that had worked. And then from Total Jobs, I'd moved through all the various different positions. I went from where I was to a key account manager to a national account manager. Then I actually left Total Jobs, funny enough, because one of the former website directors at Total Jobs moved to read.co.uk and asked if I would come over and help with the Scottish element of read.co.uk. So I did that for a few years. And whilst I was away, I was asked to come back a few times by Total Jobs to move back from Reed to Total Jobs, which in the end I accepted. And when I came back, I was a national account manager for Total Jobs for a couple of years. And it was just before COVID happened. Our business, or the Stepstone business that owns Total Jobs, it grows by acquisition or natural growth. And they purchased a video recruitment company, which was called Cameo at the time. And I moved from national account manager to lead the video recruitment product within the UK marketplace. And I did that very successfully a couple of years. COVID hit, and of course we had this video recruitment tool there, which kind of just was nice. It was right good timing, so it allowed us to continue working with our customers that couldn't do those face-to-face interviews anymore and give them another solution. And then fast forward a couple of years after that, we'd grown that business to where we wanted it to get to, and then Stepstone sold Cameo. So we no longer own that business and sold it back, and that then opened up an opportunity for me to then progress further into another field within the company, which was in the global hiring division of the Stepstone Group. And the Stepstone Group owns and operates various different platforms globally, and my role was to talk to businesses after maybe the local account directors or account managers have looked at what they maybe need on a global basis out with the UK. And then that's where I come in to talk to them about how we can help them get in front of the best talent on the best platforms globally. And that's what I do for the Stepstone Group now, which is what Total Jobs is in the UK, for example. That's part of that company.
Interesting. You mentioned Michael Page. One of our previous guests also worked with him. He said he mentioned him also.
Yeah, Michael Page, it's a good brand. I believe when I worked there, it was classed as a super brand for a recruitment agency. Not sure if it still is. I'm guessing the job board world has kind of changed that industry a lot over the last couple of decades. But yeah, it was a very, very successful brand, and it still is as well. I suppose it's one of the household brands you would think within, if you're looking at a recruitment agency style business, like your Hudson, your Hayes, Search, Michael Page. It's those kind of one of the big 10 we would class as a recruitment agency style business. So yeah, that was I suppose where I cut the cloth with the recruitment world, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some of the biggest changes you've seen in recruitment over the past decade?
Yeah, so over the past decade, or even going a little bit further than that, again, even if I link into the Michael Page side, so I guess for the viewers of the podcast, job boards have been around since about the year 2000. That's really when they kind of started. 98, 99, 2000 is kind of when the birth of that happened. Almost not that long after, the internet was a mainstream thing in most people's houses. And the reason why I want to start there is it's quite a fast transition. When I was at Michael Page, we were still using newspapers to see what companies were recruiting within those recruitment pages. Obviously, people of a certain age probably won't even know what that is. They've probably never bought a newspaper in their life, but that's kind of how we used to do it. And the conversation, and then when I moved to the Monster after there, of course, you had a little bit of I suppose, a divide in people's mentality. You were maybe speaking to recruitment directors or HR directors at that point. Advise them, look, online is the way everything's moving to, but you still had a little bit of friction going, no, I don't understand that. It's not going to work. I'm still going to put my adverts in a newspaper. And I'm talking about 2007 at this point. People were still thinking about that. And it's not really, in the grand scheme of an industry, that's not that long ago. And then, of course, it was just fast-paced after that. And of course, as people started aging out of those businesses, younger generations coming in, so much more use to online presences, birth of like MySpace before Facebook, and then all of that. So they were so much more aware and used to living their lives online. And that was really when job boards started excelling massively, probably from around about 2009-10 upwards, where it really just started taking over that whole media recruitment space. It's so much so that your newspapers don't even exist anymore for that type of activity, and everything's kind of online now. So that was that first change. It was a great disruptor to the newspaper world. Now, of course, things are changing again with the industry, because of course back then a job board was called a job board because if you think about a message board, you put a message on a board, a physical board, and you maybe go and just look at that physical board and take that message off and go, okay, I quite like that message. That's kind of where the name job board came from. It's about having all these lists there of jobs and people go into it. And it was quite static that way. If somebody put an advert on a job maybe today, a job board today, I would say, and then maybe looked at it 2 weeks later, it'd be way, way down the lists. So that's how they used to work. And then, of course, as technology has improved, as things like AI has improved, as things like smart match has improved, then what happens now with there is a lot of the adverts are carefully matched to candidates that are looking to those adverts. So the industry's kind of changed in a way where it needs to think of almost two different customers. One customer being the company that's using you to find talent. And then we've also got our users, and the total jobs in the UK alone has got north of 26 million candidates registered on our database. So we've got a massive user base. So we've got two different types of customers we need to obviously make happy, I guess. The customer side, the client side, they want to ensure they're getting the best candidates possible. The user side, or the job seeker side, they want to see relevancy. They don't want to have to come to a site where they're scrolling through lots and lots of inaccurate results. So technology's changed vastly that way, where we're basing it a lot on their algorithms and what kind of jobs they've maybe been working at, what things they're looking to achieve, maybe what websites they've looked at, what their user interests are, trying to build up that picture of what a candidate looks like. So when they come to the site, they're presented with an exact matching job list for what they're looking for. That then continues allows those users to come back, and then of course increases that user base. Similarly for the customer side, we're then giving them relevancy of their applications, and it's not, we'll give you one good application and 20, might be all right, not quite sure style thing that might have happened in the past. There's a lot more smart matching technology now within that route, and of course the last couple of years with the boom of AI, that's even getting smarter now as well. So that just gives you an idea of being a disruptor to a newspaper to now AI is involved. It gives you an idea of how quickly, in terms of industry, that has changed in such a short.
Yeah, I can remember applying for jobs through newspapers very well.
So do I. So do I. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, going in and handing my CV in and having to fill out millions of forms, and yeah, it was very streamlined back then.
Of course it wasn't. No, everything back then was a lot slower,
Mm.
wasn't it? A lot slower. So you would have to, as you say, maybe post your application off,
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
having to wait for the response back. Whereas that would if you were to say that to someone that never applied to an advert that way now, that would be create quite a lot of anxiety. I would have thought, the wait time that maybe the generation before them had to wait just to get even a response back to get an interview. It could be months from application before, or a month or two before you even got an interview from an application point of view. So
Yeah, it's definitely moved on a touch.
exactly.
So with client acquisition, what strategies have you found most effective in bringing in new business?
Yeah, so with talent acquisition, the strategies that are kind of most effective is really kind of relying more so now on things like data analytics. Data analytics, a lot of branding, a lot of kind of multi-channel style marketing for businesses, not relying on, what one route. So a lot of where that talent acquisition comes from is really trying to gain in the trust of the customer that you're trying to position your services to. So that could be, explaining to them how we are going to use their brand, how we're going to get their brand in front of the correct audience. And also it's to help steer them as well, because as much as most people that are in that recruitment business and in a customer, they'll be an expert on their own business, but they might not necessarily be an expert on the wider market. And that really comes down to obviously a company where it was, where we can show them trends and analytics about maybe where they've gained candidates from, and maybe where they're losing candidates to. Why we can say, you've had a great deal of candidates over the last few years you've gained from XYZ company, but you also seem to be losing most of your candidates to XYZ company over here. Let's see if we can try plug that gap a little bit to why you're losing candidates, and then let's find out how you're gaining candidates to really strengthen what you're doing here, but try to fix what's maybe not effective on this side, to try give them that whole holistic overview of not just saying we'll give you a candidate for your advert, but saying, what, let's help you kind of define your strategy a little bit better to help retention, but also focus your efforts on the areas you're going to get the biggest return back, biggest return on investment from that side. And a lot of that comes down to data analytics that they may not themselves have on a wider market perspective. They might only have it for their own, what they can see in their own ATS side or applicant tracking system side. So that goes down a lot in terms of the talent acquisition. It's about creating trust within that conversation, and how we can deliver, and how we can treat their brand with respect to ensure we get the right candidates to them.
Yeah, for sure. I've spoken to a lot of recruitment agents lately, and yeah, they struggle to stand out in a crowded market. It's definitely quite saturated. How do total jobs stand out? What kind of strategies do you use? Do you post much content?
Yeah, so in terms of what we do online, we do lots of so in terms of total jobs as a brand, don't focus so much on we focus on the total jobs brand, of course, to get candidates to us. But most of the marketing we focus on as a company is to do with the candidate generation for our customers. That is the important thing. That is what our job is. It's not about, hey, give us your investment and we'll use all your investment to put total jobs brand everywhere. Forget about what you'd asked us to do, which other companies do go down that route and use that formula. So what we do is you look at every company or every client customer we have on that unique basis, where when they invest in us, part of the marketing for their adverts is smart technology marketing back into that large database I mentioned of the 26 million who's relevant. So that's the first part of it. We've also got a secondary database, which we call marketable candidates database. People have registered for alerts for those types of jobs. So that's the first route. Then, of course, a lot of the marketing then comes from taking our customer's brand, our logo, so to speak, and then taking that advert out of total jobs, almost part of retargeting, which is like programmatic retargeting, targeting candidates as they roam the internet, presenting jobs to them at a time it's convenient when we know they're maybe going to go, there's an opportunity. I'm maybe on Sky News just now, there's a banner pops up saying, hey, this job is for you. They would click on that branded banner, would come back into total jobs for them to then apply. So a lot of the marketing we do is for candidates is based on what we do for the customer's brand, because that is the brand that is going to work for the candidates. And it also helps with the previous kind of point you raised as well about some companies find it difficult in that crowded marketplace, and that's how that helps them. The more we do that for the smaller businesses, the more they get their brand seen by a lot more candidates as well. We're not talking about your Apples of the world or your Dells, your HPs. Everyone knows who they are. Your Adidas or Nike or whoever, everyone knows who they are. But what about those companies that want to compete for those types of candidates? Then that's where we come in to help get their brand out there, get their brand seen by more people, so it starts becoming more relative, more known to them, and it starts driving application flow through for them.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, that's brilliant. What would you say your biggest challenges are with your clients? What your clients are facing right now?
Yeah, so I guess that there's like challenges. There's never really one challenge for one customer that seems to be the same for everyone. There are some nuances or some trends on there. The one that even the government has spoken about, which is why the retirement ages keeps going up within the UK. It's why everyone has to pay their own pension now because of that reason. And why I've mentioned that is to do with what you've probably heard even from the government side is an aging population. Now, what that really means for the viewers, I guess, is what the aging population means and how that affects industry. Is there's more people over 40 or over 35 in jobs roles right now versus people coming through from a young, like being a teenager, go through university or whatever it might be, onto apprenticeship or straight into company. So as these people are starting to get to retirement age, there's not enough people in the country to fill those roles long term. So that's the biggest problem. It's about contingency, but part of that could be solved by technology, AI, automation, for example. So that I believe there's going to be a lot more of that coming in, but that doesn't solve the problem now, where you've got a lot of industries. And even if you look at something like the energy industry, again, a hot topic for a lot of people, where their gas and electricity prices have went up over the last few years. But that industry alone, most people or most engineers within that industry are plus 40. And it gives you an idea of the issue that's going to happen there within the next couple of decades, where the energy crisis could get worse, which is why they're trying to put initiatives in now to try to get more people into the industry, try to change the industry a little bit from, maybe fossil fuels into more nuclear or renewable energy, and try to train people up to facilitate that. So even things like that are on a lot of people's minds. But it's not just about that. That's maybe long term, but it's long term you can't fix when it happens. You need to start looking at that now, contingency for when those things happen. Other kind of big initiatives that have happened recently, probably since the kind of George Floyd in America, the Me Too movement, all of that and things kind of really put a lot of big highlight on it, was really kind of equality and diversity in the workplace. A lot more businesses now are focusing on that, looking at how they can have a more equal and diverse workforce across what they do, and how they can maybe attract candidates from diverse backgrounds, and maybe looking at the current force and maybe looking at their current marketing and trying to see what they've got on their own website, their own marketing materials. Does that lend themselves to having people from a diverse background apply to them? It's a little bit like, if you don't see yourself there, you might not apply there. So if you don't have maybe imagery of a diverse company, then you're going to have a struggle there. So that's been a big kind of goal for most companies just now. And of course, COVID wasn't that long ago. I think it was, is it 5 years ago now? Is that right? It doesn't seem that long ago, to be honest. But it is almost half a decade ago now, if you think about it. But what's happened with that is, of course, it's then changed people's mindsets to work. It's really, really amplified people's want of a work-life balance. I'm working to live. I'm not living to work. That's the kind of thing. And with that, and with what COVID did, is for people, maybe Sam, like yourself and I, that were completely aware of what life was like before that. You were in the office 5 days a week. There was no ever question of working from home. That this wasn't an option. If you're in the office, you're in the office. COVID changed that, and now because it's changed, people want remote working. They want hybrid working. Our company now adopts a 3 days in the office, 2 days at home policy to allow for that. It can help with, what we see from that side. It can reduce sickness, because maybe people that have got to go to a doctor's appointment or dentist, or have to pick their child up from school at a certain point. Maybe they can work that out with a different with a partner to do that. So we've seen a lot more of that, a lot more demands for remote working and hybrid working, which I guess a lot of businesses are still trying to navigate around and get to grips with. But again, it's what the candidates are seeking now, isn't it? That's the main thing. They want more of that work-life balance and what they look at, and that's a big factor for businesses and candidates alike. So I guess those are the big transformational challenges, I guess, that you're at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. It's a big issue at the moment, the hybrid working, and I think multi-generational workforces as well. that's something, isn't it? Like getting all these multi-generational people in together, working together, is becoming a bit of an issue because the new generation coming through is so different.
Exactly. No, that's it. It's very much different, of course. But I think because the generations are so different now, and I don't remember this when I first started out work, and I finished university in 2001. Put my age away there. So when I first went into to work in the industry, I don't ever remember generations being tagged like they are now. You've got like Gen Zs, millennials, kind of Gen X, that kind of thing, boomers and stuff. They weren't tagged like that. It was just, different generations. Whereas now I think it's because there's such a different divide between maybe somebody born in 1970 compared to someone born in, the year 2000. And I guess it's where you fall in that. There's some people like myself. I'm going to be 45 this year. I remember life before Google and a mobile phone. I remember the birth of Facebook, the birth of social media, the birth of all. I remember all of that. So we're here before it and during it, and obviously rising with it. But of course, there's people that are maybe born in the year 2000 that are 25 now. They've always had those things. They don't understand the differences, and I guess it's that whole way, there's a different way, a different mindset almost of how people retain information or look at things compared to on that generational divide, which I guess maybe where that tagging comes from, isn't it? It's to make people mindful and aware of the different upbringings, vastly different upbringings people have got. We're completely digital or hybrid a little bit like myself. You can remember what it was like analog before to digital, and then you've maybe got a little bit of people in there, maybe your directors or so, or 50 plus, are more remember analog more so because that was most of their youth, so
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I was born in the 80s. So yeah, I've grown up with no technology and technology.
exactly.
Yeah. It's interesting.
One of the things I found really funny about that, my wife and our son, he's 15 months old, and we were going. There's a museum in Glasgow where I'm based. It's called the Riverside Museum, and it's got lots of different kind of things in there. And one of the things I thought was hilarious, and also maybe realizes how quickly technology changed. It was seeing a Game Boy and a ZX Spectrum computer in a cabinet in a museum, and it's going, "Oh, I got one of them in my fifth birthday." So yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, Super Nintendos, Sega Mega Drives. Remember all those?
Exactly.
Yeah, excellent. How do you see recruitment evolving over the next few years, particularly in the digital platform space?
AI, of course, is going to change a lot of things. Already a lot of businesses right now we're using on, I suppose, almost like matching technologies with what's called an applicant tracking system. I guess, Sam, you may know what that is, but for your viewers that might not know, applicant tracking system is a system that businesses will have on there where a CV will go into that system from maybe a job board or a career site, whatever it might be. And then that system itself has got kind of keywording in there to filter candidates out. That kind of older legacy system will probably be phased out more for smarter AI technology, where AI is probably going to be doing a lot more matching of candidates to businesses, freeing up a lot more time for recruiters and HR to maybe bypass first and second stage interviews. A lot more of that will be done by AI as we progress forward to really streamline that whole process a lot quicker. If you think applying for a job now is quick compared to what it was like a newspaper, in 5 to 10 years from now, it's going to be it'll be extremely quick. That's kind of what we kind of foresee within that. Almost you'll be able to apply today. An AI system will be able to kind of filter applications out within milliseconds, and maybe even be invited to a video interview of some form, or an interview where you might not be speaking to a human. It could be an AI generated human, but you might not be aware of that, and that will form your first and second stage interviews before you're maybe invited in to speak to an actual human in that business. We kind of see that is definitely going to be how things are going to progress forward within this space over the next 5 or 10 years. I would say that'll be the next big step forward.
Yeah, 100% can see that happening. 100%. And yeah, final question is: what advice would you give to companies looking to improve their recruitment and hiring strategies?
Yeah, so again, it's to start off with what the end goal is. So a lot of companies might look at the improve their hiring recruitment strategies, looking at maybe what they're doing now and trying to go, okay, we need more. They're not maybe looking at the other elements. If you think about what I maybe said about equality and diversity as an example, is that also an agenda for businesses, and is part of their strategy trying to get more of those types of candidates in? And part of that route is to look at maybe what media or what imagery they've got on their own websites. So if they're looking to, increase more females in the workplace, or more females in IT, for example, or more diversity within the overall structure of the business from different backgrounds. If, of course, you as a candidate go to a website and all you see is, 10 white men on a website, or that kind of thing, you can go, I don't really see myself working there. So it's all about change your branding to match what you're trying to achieve. So that's the first step, is always what we would say. Change your branding to achieve to do what you're trying to achieve. That's the first step. And then after that, look at maybe what you're doing just now. If there's certain things that are working well, then as I say, don't fix what isn't broken. Look at the areas that isn't working well. Is it a drag between maybe the external platforms that you're advertising on, such as Total Jobs or any other site you might be looking, to what you've got confirmed in your system, your ATS I'd mentioned a few times? And one of the biggest drop-offs on that side we see is a lot of companies still, for whatever reason, point of application, still want a candidate to go through like 8 different pages of registration on their career site. And we know from our data and our tracking, as soon as a candidate gets to that second page and sees there are 8 pages to go and they've already uploaded their CV, they're like, they just drop out and go and apply somewhere else. Then, of course, the customer, it takes a lot of time to explain to the customer, well, that's why they're dropping out. And the customer's going to go, but if they're not bothered going through that, then we don't want to see them. You're kind of going, well, you're not getting to see anyone anyway, so you need to kind of do something, because your competitors have all made it a slicker process for candidates to get through the door. So it's about streamlining the application process for candidates. Maybe putting a little bit more kind of tech in there to make that a little bit more streamlined, to reduce the amount of registrations they need to do at the start. They don't need to upload everything manually at the start, particularly if you're not going to hire them. Make it easy just to get their CV in there, see what it's like, bring them in for interview. And if you need further registration, do it after that first interview stage, because candidates are more likely to are happier to do it at that point before you've even spoke to them or sent them an email back. Really they'll focus on everything else. And again, I'll use my analogy with Apple. Unless you're Apple, you're probably not a brand that people go, do you know what, I'll just go and apply for the other 5 jobs that are the exact same as what you've been advertising online. That is always the issue. If you look at any platform online, whether it's our platform, LinkedIn, Indeed, whoever it may be, no matter what job role you put in there's going to be 30, 40 plus of them in every location. And that's the thing about when it comes to companies, it's about not thinking about your direct competitor is for industry. It's about who your hiring competitor is. If you're looking for a Java developer, there's another 50 companies looking for Java developers right now. But how are they making it easier for them to get through your door compared to what you are? So that's the first thing, is looking at that, looking at the marketing side. Looking at what external brands are going to really achieve the goals you're looking for, such as Total Jobs with the large database that we have. Is a company that's got a big weight within the market with a large database going to help them get the candidates they need faster? That's also, what partners are they deciding to use? If they're feeling they're still not getting what they're getting with their current partners, then that's when they need to maybe look to shake things up. Branding, their own internal application process, and their external partners for that candidate attraction. Who are they using? And if you don't think it's working, change it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. Yeah, totally agree with the branding and making things easier for candidates.
Exactly.
It's just so important, isn't it? It's what's going to make you life easier for sure. So yeah, thank you for sharing those insights today. So before we wrap
No
up,
problem.
Where can our listeners learn more about Total Jobs and connect with you?
Of course, yeah. So if you want to know more about Total Jobs, there is the website, totaljobs.com. Of course, if they want to connect with me to talk about any recruitment strategies in the UK or globally, as I said, I'm one of the global hiring and account directors, so we cover 140 countries. So if you've got a requirement to find talent anywhere globally, drop me a note. It's jordan.kerr@totaljobs.com. By all means, drop me an email and we'll be happy to get back in touch to explore the art of the possible, to see if we can help you achieve what you want. Achieve getting in front of the right candidates at the right time anywhere globally.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for listening to the Thought Leader Recruit podcast. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll catch you next time.